think about it, a project plan can be thought of as just a list of tasks. Put it in Excel, add start and due dates, and you have a means to easily and effectively track progress. Let's see how we do that. The first thing to understand is how Excel interprets date data. Dates are actually nothing but numbers, serial numbers to be precise. So, date number 1, or the number 1, is January 1st, 1900. 2 would be January 2nd, 1900, and so on. If you were to count all the way up to 41,426, you'd end up at June 1st, 2013. So basically, 41,426 days after January 1st, 1900, it's June 1st, 2013. If you type those two dates into an Excel worksheet and then perform a show formulas, it shows you the actual serial number. We do that with the shortcut Control grave or tilde. That's that key that is just to the left of your number keys on a QWERTY keyboard. You can also see it if you clear the formats on any cell in which you've typed date data. Okay, so knowing that, we should be able to add the number of days to complete a task to its start date to get the projected target end date, right? Okay, so May 30th, 2013 is the start date. The number of days to complete that task is 2 days. And if we add them together, we come up with June 1st, 2013. But wait, shouldn't that be 5/31/2013? Well, yes, it should. So we make an adjustment to the formula with a -1 to straighten it out. Let's take a look at the whole project plan again, and we'll see how this works. If we pull back the covers and reveal our formulas here, we can see that not only the end dates, but most of the start dates are formulas too. So every other but the first start date is calculated as the predecessor end date plus 1. Then we can calculate the end date as we discussed by adding the days to complete it to the start date and subtracting 1. That gives us our end date. Of course, once you get everything calculated, you can tweak the dates however you want to get a viable project plan. For example, if you know these tasks will take a certain amount of time, but the calculated completion dates of the tasks go beyond the target date, then there's some juggling to be done. So how do we get our project plan to automatically tell us when things are past due? Well, we can use conditional formatting with a formula. That will give us this very cool functionality. Okay, so let's think of the logic of it first. If the target date has passed and a completion date hasn't been entered, then it's both incomplete and past due. So remembering that dates are numbers, if the date is past due, it means that the end date is less than today. I try to remember which way that works with a little rhyme. Later than is greater than. Okay, with that in mind, let's see how we apply this type of conditional formatting. We start by selecting all data cells. Don't include your column titles, just the data cells. You could select all your rows as well. Now, we're going to click on the conditional formatting button on the Home tab in the Styles group. And on that drop-down menu, we're going to select New Rule. This is going to bring up the New Formatting Rule dialog box. We'll click on that last option to use a formula to determine which cells to format, and that's going to change that dialog box a bit. So we'll type this formula in the field, and we'll come back to this in a bit, so don't worry if you don't catch it. And then we're going to click on that format button so that we can go ahead and choose the format that we want our cells to show up in. I chose yellow highlight. Alright, so we'll click OK and OK, and we're done. So here's that formula again. Let's see how it breaks down. So we're looking for two conditions to be true at the same time. That's why we use the AND function here. So first, is the actual completion date blank? That actual completion date is in F3, so is it blank? Then we also want to know if the targeted end date, C3, has passed or is less than today's date, which is in B1. We can accomplish that by always using the today function in B1, so it's always the current date. So if both conditions are true, then we want to see all the cells for that task highlighted. Now this may be a lot of work the first time, but if it's a project you do often, you may want to save all that hard work as a template. So just delete the manually entered data. In our case, that's the actuals and the target and start date. And then we'll just save that as a template. Then when we want to create another similar project plan, all we have to do is use that template, enter the missing data, and voila, we have a new project plan.